This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 459 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, Total Saddle Fit, and Sterling Essentials. Today we talk with Hillary about what led us to become professional horse people, and Emily Miles joins us for a great trainer tip.
Stanfield from Loxahatchee, Florida.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
Hi, Phil. How are you this week?
I'm doing good. Still doing good, you know? I'll be happy when the show season is here and we're getting out, we're doing stuff. I'm ready for this now, right? Like, yes. I've been training all winter. I'm like, these horses are feeling great. Let's do this. Now I have to wait another month and a half, I think, before we have our actual first show planned.
We can come to Kentucky. You can just come visit us because so this is actually my last show that we're recording from Florida. We're recording a little bit early because Phil's traveling and then I travel home. So we're a little bit early. So we don't have any real news because we're actually recording.
Yeah, we'd love to report on the big 3-star, 4-star that's going on, but we don't know what's
it's happening right now. So yeah, exactly. And it works a little bit better in Phil and my travel schedule, but it kind of goes into what we're talking about this week. And Hillary was really cute. She almost interviews us a little bit about
we give a little backstory and where we come from and how we came to be horsey professional people. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a little bit interesting anyway. So
we hope.
We hope people enjoy it. Yeah. And
Exactly. So it's really fun. And so we hope you enjoy a little bit about our life story. I don't think we've ever really talked about it so much. So I hope you enjoy that today. So right after this commercial break, we're going to come back with Hillary Moore-Hebert for her monthly segment. And it's a little bit about how we became professional riders.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
If you've ever had a horse with diarrhea, you know what a frustrating problem it can be. Finding an ingredient that works to dry up the diarrhea becomes a high priority. It turns out that researchers have found one, a yeast called Saccharomyces boulardii. It has been proven to improve and halt episodes of diarrhea. It supplies specific nutrients to the lining of the small and large intestines, and these nutrients promote healing of irritated tissues. It also supports improved starch and sugar digestion in the small intestine, reducing the opportunity for imbalances to occur in the hindgut. Nalox Advanced, made by Kentucky Performance Products, contains Saccharomyces boulardii, along with a blend of fermentation solubles and stomach buffers. Nalox Advanced is recommended for horses of any age that are suffering from diarrhea. It also supports a healthy digestive tract in horses at risk for gastric or colonic ulcers, such as performance horses or any horse that is constantly on the go and exposed to stressful situations. For best results, Nalox Advanced should be fed on a daily basis.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com.
Well, tonight I am so excited for her monthly segment to have Hillary Moore-Hebert on the show. Hillary, how are you today?
Hi, guys. I'm doing very well. I'm very warm down in sunny Florida.
Oh, I know.
Oh, Hillary,
not
cool.
Not
cool.
I just thought I'd rub it in because
you're getting a snowstorm today.
You're getting a snowstorm.
I know. That's why. This is the first time I mentioned it, how delightful the weather is.
I just came
really from Maryland, nice. And it is horrible up there.
You're not fun. You're not.
Yeah, it's true. Kentucky just got a foot of snow. Kentucky never gets a foot of snow. So, it's like, boy.
All right. Let's not talk about that too much then.
Episode over. This is the last time I'm ever going to be called again.
Yeah, exactly. Can't be like that.
Hillary, when are you heading north? When do you?
Later on.
Never.
Yeah. Sometime towards the end of the month-ish. But I think that I promise I'm going to be back in Maryland sooner rather than later, but I don't want to think about it. It's very cold up there.
It's very cold up there. It's so true. I love it. Well, we've got a great conversation today. So you want to get us started on what your topic wants to be today?
Yeah. So I saw someone posting on social media a very interesting question that ended up creating a lot of interesting discussion. And I thought it was really an interesting topic that I wanted to talk about with you guys because we have a little bit diverse backgrounds in terms of how we got to where we are. But the question was, did you have a job when you first started out being a professional trainer? And do you still have another job? And why is that? And, what are things to consider with generally juggling all of the aspects of that? And as a lot of the listeners know, I used to work as one of the editors at Dressage Today. Before that, I was in graduate school for journalism, and before that I used to work in politics and journalism. So I kind of off and on went between working both full-time at other jobs and having training businesses, and now I'm just full-time doing this. So I thought it brought up a lot of questions, and I thought it would be neat to kind of go around the table and have everyone talk about what their experience was. Did you go straight into this? When did you start doing this full-time? And then we could kind of chat about some of the things that it factors in considering when to switch over.
Yeah, I think those are cool questions. Yeah, I don't know if we've ever talked about it actually on the show.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
yes, I'll let you take this one.
You want me to go first? Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
okay.
I'll go first. Yeah, actually, I have a undergraduate degree in agricultural economics. And I have a master's degree in international commerce and diplomacy from the Patterson School. So horse training was still my first choice, so I still started doing that. But yeah, I graduated high school, and that's when I went to Germany for a year. And because I wanted to train in Germany, I started to learn German, which would play later on in my life, which was a good thing. I just wanted to make sure nobody was talking about me behind my back. Let's be real. That's why I learned German. So I graduated high school, and I went to Germany for a year. I went to Konrad Schumacher's, Hofgut-Neuhof, and I lived there and trained. And when I came back, I went to university for 2 years with a stint at Palm Beach Community College because my dad finally said, well, actually, I went back to Germany for another year because the horse I had at the time, I wanted to finish him and do the Grand Prix with him. And so I went back to Germany, and then that's when my dad said, okay, yeah, you gotta go to school, girl. So I went to Palm Beach Community College down here, did the Pan Am selections that year. And then I went back to school and continue to take German. So when I graduated college, or right before, my mom said, there's this really cool master's program I think would be really cool, because I was always into international politics and policy. I like ag policy. I was always kind of a policy girl. So throughout this time, when I got back the second time from Germany, I'd been asked to give some clinics, and I started teaching and had a training business at my farm, my family farm, but small. So when I finished college and grad school, I took the certified instructor exam, actually 3 weeks before my comprehensive exams for grad school. The certified instructor exam was harder. Actually, it's a hard exam. And so I did that, and then I ended up really thinking, okay, let me try to do horses full time. So I did. I went full-time professional at the time. But one thing that I've learned by being a professional rider is you have to do a lot of things. You have to be smart, and you have to. That's why I think a lot of people, and you guys would also feel the same way. You have to be a really good communicator when you're a horse trainer, but you have to be able to do a lot of things well. So I really felt like, I started doing it, and I started teaching clinics and traveling all over and having horses in training, which was great. I also got my certified appraiser's license. And by doing that, that kind of helped. That brought my economic degree together with my horse training business, so I can do that. I do the radio show. Phil and I have been doing this almost 6 years. I started with Glenn. And I also teach at the University of Kentucky. I teach a global sport horse industry class. So this is all, now I do all this on top of my training business, which sometimes is really silly. But I think it's important. I think you end up in this business. I waited tables. I worked at Dillard's and sold shoes. So I think when you are a full-time trainer, you really have to learn. It's really important. Yeah, you have to hustle. You have to hustle. Yeah, and that's you have to hustle, and that's, I think that is actually one of the things I see here in Florida with the younger generation. I mean, we are all about the same age, so we all had the same struggles. And these girls that sort of finish at 4:00 and think it's over. I mean, I just laugh at them. I mean, I maybe finish at 4:00, but I need to shower and get in and do the radio show for 3 hours. My day's not over, or I have an appraisal, or so I think maybe that's the one thing that is hard about this job is you have to hustle, and you got to be smart, and you got to and hustle, and that's working hard. I mean, you work hard in the barn, and then you got to find other sources of income. I'm lucky because my husband is not in the horse business, so I'm able to get health insurance through him.
That was my first question I was going to ask you, because Canada is a different thing, but I was curious to know how you had your health insurance.
Yeah. I mean, it would be very, very difficult with health insurance if I wasn't married. And I don't think that, they've upped the law, but at the time, there was a time, I think it was 23 when I was, and I got married at 26. So there was 3 years I had to pay for my own health insurance. So that was.
Oh, so you paid for it? For
a while before they upped the age.
Yeah.
But that was not.
I didn't have health insurance for a while.
Well, I remember having the worst possible health insurance possible.
Yeah.
But it was what I could afford, but I had something, and
which is much smarter. Everyone who is listening.
Yes.
Yeah, it's much smarter to do. But I think a lot of people. I think that's definitely changed in the United States. That's changed the industry quite a bit to be able to be on your parents' health insurance for longer. For a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much my story. I mean, yeah, so I still use sort of all those things. And, I started teaching at the university 3 years ago. I've done 3 classes, 3 semesters. I teach only in the fall because I'm here in Florida in the spring. But, I hope that, you never know where that will lead me. I won't be able to ride horse. I mean, all of us, at some point, you can't ride, 8 horses a day, and you got to have some other things. And I do tell my students, both horsey and at school, you guys have got to be able to do something else. So enough about me. Phil, tell us about you.
I feel like I was pretty much just born into doing this as a job. So when I was about 50, so, my parents are very passionate about horses. They have other jobs. They're not trainers, but, having that passion kind of, from very young, I think then just becoming a trainer and helping people with the horses just sort of came naturally to me. And I did get a little push that way because I think my mom would have liked to have done this as a job. And a lot of people would have liked to have done this as a job. So, I was presented with a lot of opportunities. When I was in my teens, my family owned a boarding barn. So we had, clientele within the barn and stuff like that. So I've been riding professionally, I've been getting paid to ride since I was about 15. And then when I graduated high school, then I moved to the Netherlands to do the working student gig. And, so that just was the natural progression. If you want education in dressage, you move to Europe, you do it the hard way, and, you muck a lot of stalls, and you work towards your opportunities to ride horses and to get lessons from people. And so, I went to a really great place that offered me a lot of that. I've heard, if you're going to be a working student in Europe, there's not a lot of, they expect you to work really, really hard and not get a lot in return for that. You kind of learn to be a professional groom rather than a professional rider. But I went to a great place. I worked for Johan and Penny Rocks. Penny is actually born in Canada, so she understood where I was coming from. and what it's like to what dressage is like in Canada versus in Europe. So they really taught me a lot there, and so I did that, and then I came home and just picked up any ride I could. Worked in the industry, and did any job that was around horses, and just really worked until I think only maybe last year or the year before I actually made a little bit of money. So that's what it took. Just a lot of, doing a lot of things that didn't pay, just to get the opportunities and to get the experience and to meet the right people. And, so that's sort of my story. I didn't really, I don't have a fallback plan. So if any of you guys want to pay me to do anything else, I might take that opportunity, but it's just what I wanted to do, and I was just really hyper focused on making it work and making it work for me. So now I have the radio show, and I get to travel a lot, and I have now a super great clientele of people with horses that I ride, and with teaching people and giving lessons, and so it was just a lot of trial and error, in my life to get to this point, and try and continue it going on. I don't think that you can ever say, okay, in 5 years I'll be where I want to be, and then I can take a break or something. You just gotta, like you guys said, just keep hustling and find what works for you and find what doesn't work for you. And you have to create, like I said, you just have to create your own opportunities. I really feel for trainers in America, of course, about the health insurance thing and the way that works. Thankfully, I haven't had to think about those issues,
And it seems interesting that that's how things are kind of shaped, because I know, at least for myself, a lot of that was the concern of, I think, tying working for like a corporation to the fact that you have health insurance. There's just generally like security to it. So I think it's a very American thing. And I don't know, Reese, if you feel otherwise, but it's a very American thing to have the idea of like a quote real job, if you can, because it's more stability. And so I think that I see a lot of people in the U.S. who are very, very good riders that they end up kind of wavering between doing stuff where you think, oh, they're like an incredibly talented young rider, and then the next year you see that they're going to graduate school for something, and their plan is to kind of still ride, but they want this concept of stability, or their family wants them to have this concept of stability.
Yeah. I mean, that's the issue, right? I mean, it's really hard to, it takes a while, and you have to be able to kind of save and be smart, and it is very difficult. And I know a lot of young riders, and this is another conversation we could have, is the working student, the working student program's tough. It's really, really difficult. You don't make a lot of money, but one of the things that I tell my kids at school and my kids that are with me, it's like, first of all, I still do stalls. I don't know why somebody magically thinks because I'm a trainer I don't do stalls. Like, I still do stalls. I still do chores. Not every day. And I do say if I'm doing that, that's not necessarily a good sign. But no, I mean, people get sick and people whatever. So get it out of your head that you're not going to do chores, because it's part of this. And the other thing is, when you choose this job, you're choosing a lifestyle. And I think that that's really important, that everybody should know and feel for their trainer, which is why we have talked about it, that it's important for your trainers. It's everyone else's fun. This is our job. So there's a conflict right there. And it's important to remember that is yes, we know you want to have fun, and so do we. But a lot of times our fun is not in the barn. But that's what I see. I think that's what I see the most with the younger kids coming up. Not everybody. I don't want to make a generalization, but it's that idea that this is a lifestyle. It's not really about the money. I mean, yes, we live very comfortable lives. All three of us, we're very lucky, and Hillary and I, we're here. There's a lot of cool things about this job. But you're going to work hard. I don't even count how many hours I work. I don't even know. And people are like, oh, I work so many hours. I can't even tell you. I think
it takes a special person to, like if you talk about the security of a biweekly paycheck or of health insurance, it takes a certain person to be able to go with the flow, to say, okay, this week I'm going to make a little extra money, and to be able to budget that. I think you have to be really good financially to save and to look towards the future and to plan. That takes a certain kind of person, I think, to be able to a little bit go with the flow and not to have that sort of security, or like I said, like a fallback idea of what you want to do. I mean, you just have to go with it, and you have to have a faith that things do work out. And if you put the work in, it's gonna be it's gonna be all right. And so it's a little bit week to week living and a little bit month to month planning and that kind of thing, and to be able to put things off to be able to spend in other places and to prioritize your own education, whether it be riding or in an MBA program, and to learn about the finances. I think that's also important, and to try and pick up education wherever you can, but I mean, in the end, I really, really love it, and it works. It works for me, and it works for my wife, who doesn't always like that. Like, well, how many horses you got for training next month? I'm like, I don't know. We'll see when we get there. That drives her crazy. But
okay, Phil, I know. Hillary probably knows. Phil's really relaxed about that stuff.
But I think what you just said also is a very interesting idea that I find often is like what I discuss with other entrepreneurs who have nothing to do with horses, is you have to have that entrepreneurial mindset and be willing to be a risk taker and be kind of aggressive about certain things and work more than 40 hours a week so that you own your own business, but also you own it, like you're responsible for it. And so that means that maybe you don't ever get the 4th of July off ever again, because the horses are, crazy with fireworks and they have to stay in. And, same way, maybe if you have a bakery business, it means that you're going to be waking up at the crack of dawn, like for the rest of your life. There's a lot of things that you just have to take. And so I think it's just understanding the fact that we are small business owners and that has good and bad things to it. But, like you said, where it's like you just have to have people supporting you, and maybe they aren't always perfect with it, but they have to be okay with the idea that we aren't at a 9-to-5 job where everything finishes at 5 and you can take your cell phone and put it away. Like if we have a horse colicking in the middle of the night and you have to, drive home through the night from a horse show to go and do that, and then you have to decide, do I drive back to the horse show having not gone to sleep, and crazy things like that.
Yeah,
it's a trade-off. There's no perfect situation. I think you put in the time when you need to, and you try and plan for all the, you can do fun things, right? It just takes extra steps in planning. Like, Hillary, you coming down to Florida and getting some education for yourself, that takes extra responsibility and extra planning to make sure the people are in place and doing their thing, and, to make sure your farm's looked after and all of that. You can do these things. It's just, it's an extra pain in the butt. You know what I mean? You can't just.
It's not always too, like what you said, but it's not always like, it may be 50% of the way there, because I wanted to mention, I'm not sure everybody knows this is listening. I go back and forth every week. Would I love to be down here full time? 100% yes. But Wednesday, after I work horses at home, fly down here so I can ride my horse. I am exhausted. I still go and take a lesson, and like, I am not allowed to, that's the rule at the barn, like I'm not allowed to talk about how tired I am. And then Saturday, after I work my horse, sometimes at a show, I fly home and then work horses at night, sometimes until midnight, and then get up the next morning and I teach 12 lessons sometimes on Sunday.
Yeah.
So,
you have a baby that you're taking back and forth.
Yeah, and I have a kid that I bring back and forth with me all the time. But, I think that it speaks to exactly what you guys are talking about. It's like, you have to make a plan for it, and sometimes it's more complicated, but also, maybe you can't afford to go to regionals. Like that sucks. Like, this is your job, and maybe this year you don't get to go because you have to save money so that you can, afford to have your horse get shot through the winter. So, yeah, I mean, it's just this juggling act that makes us crazy. But if it's for you, it's also really amazing and fun.
I think so. I think it's a great job. I can't complain. If it wasn't this, I would be doing something else entertaining. So you never know. For sure.
Well, it's a good discussion. It's good to
absolutely
to bring these issues up for anybody who's thinking about pursuing this as a career, or thinking about what it takes to to drop the day job.
It's true. It's true. Well, Hillary, as always, thank you so much for your time and coming on the show. You always bring such great perspective. We love it. And we hope you enjoy the sun. And actually, Hillary and I are going out to get some dinner here in a little while after we finish the show. So, because we never see each other. So, Hillary, if our listeners have any questions, how can they find you online?
The best thing to do besides just going to mooredressage.com, which is my middle name, Moore, they can find me on Facebook. And especially if there are people who are young professionals thinking of switching over, I would be happy to personally talk to anyone.
We all will.
Questions about this type of thing. Yeah.
We all will, for sure.
Yep.
For sure. Well, Hillary, thank you as always. We love having you on. And we will talk to you next month.
Okay, sounds great. Bye.
Sterling Essentials offers scented natural leather cleaners and conditioners that provide effective care for your leather, containing a special blend of natural food-grade products as well as therapeutic-grade essential oils. They are specially formulated to match the pH of leather. This ensures that your leather is nourished and protected while still being gentle on you and your horse. By providing a natural barrier to protect against water damage, mold, and mildew, your leather can remain in mint condition year-round. Both Sterling Essentials leather cleaner and leather conditioner are offered in lavender, eucalyptus, and floral citrus fragrances. Ask for Sterling Essentials leather products at your local tack and feed supplier, or you can visit them online at sterling-essentials.com.
This week's dressage training tip is brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, home of the shoulder relief girth at TotalSaddleFit.com.
Well, for this Total Saddle Fit tip of the week, Emily Miles, it came back and she's going to talk to us a little bit about training young horses and how she feels like young professionals need to be training young horses. And this fits into our young horse series that we've been doing. And so I hope you enjoy it. But Phil, you're going to tell us a little bit about our favorite girth from Total Saddle Fit.
Well, this week I thought I'd talk about the synthetic shoulder relief girth because I think this is a very popular item for people who want to try out the great fitting shoulder relief girths, but maybe don't want to commit to the price point of the Stretch Tech. This is a great girth for kind of weekend riders and people who like to hose off their tack, like Reese.
Me.
But it's a great product. This girth sits on the horse's natural girth groove, which provides your saddle with great comfort. That's not going to slip around and fall forward, fall back, side to side. So it has all the great advantages in a synthetic antimicrobial version. I think it's a great girth, and you can also get the wool fleece cover for it if you need a little extra padding for your sensitive thoroughbred or thin-skinned horse. So it's a great option. There's lots of great options at Total Saddle Fit. So you can just go online and check out TotalSaddleFit.com.
Well, this week's Total Saddle Fit tip of the week, Emily Miles stayed on with us to do our tip. And Emily, welcome back to the show. And we have a little bit of a hot button we wanted to talk about. So do you want to kind of talk about growing up with young horses and sort of the state of developing young horse riders in the country?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest benefits I've had is that I grew up on a breeding farm. My mother had young stallions and mares and bred them. And so a lot of my first horses and I was never at a lack of horses because it was always like, good, go out in the pasture. There's one that needs to be broke to ride, go for it, you know? So after my ponies, and I was very lucky to have those next young horses to start up with. But I sometimes feel that that's a little bit missing in the general riding population for younger people, younger adults. I feel like there's a lot of emphasis put on the juniors and the young riders, and I totally think that's a great thing. But at the same time, I think there's kind of a void. If you don't ever teach a horse how to do a flying change, if you don't ever teach a horse how to do a half pass, you just get on a horse that already knows it and perform it in the ring, then how do you graduate from the young horse or young rider programs and then think that you'll be able to be a trainer? And most trainers have to teach their own horses those things, or even teach people how to teach their own horses that thing. So I just think that there's a lack of continuity there, that we need to find a way to bring more young people into the young horse program and bring more young people into the developing a young dressage prospect idea, you know, not making it all about riding juniors and riding young riders, but how do I train a horse? How do I break a horse? How do I teach a horse how to lunge for the first time? You know, I don't know that many young professionals or young adults have ever been really exposed to that. And I think that that's a void, in my opinion.
No, I mean, I think I completely agree. I mean, both of you and I have coached young riders, and we did young riders, and we've done the program, and it's an amazing program.
And very necessary, like, absolutely.
It is, but training a young horse.
Right, and to prepare our future trainers, they need to know more than how to get on a schooled horse and perform a junior test, a young rider test, a U25 test, you know? They have to be able to take a younger horse, a talented horse, and develop them into that 4th level Pre-St. George Grand Prix horse, you know? And I think that where are they supposed to learn that along the way? What program teaches them that, you know? It's not the juniors, it's not the young riders, it's not the Brentina Cup, or the U25 as they call it now. So I just think that it would be interesting if we could somehow meld the young horse program and the young rider program, or juniors, young riders, whatever, so that it could, you know, so that we could teach our future trainers a little bit more about developing young, talented horses.
I totally agree. I mean, I think, again, it's very much a skill, and I think it lacks here because there is still a real void between breeders who want to get nice horses to the market but don't have riders, and then you have, you know, other young riders who really, you know, I am very much a schooled horse person. I think it's very important, but if you can, you really need a young horse developing while you're developing that the young rider horse, right? I mean, that's the ideal world.
Absolutely. And like, it frustrates me when I go to a clinic or when I hear kids talking and I get it. It's cool to do young riders. That's awesome. But when you ask a kid, what are your goals? I do not hear often enough, I want to learn how to train a horse to Grand Prix from baby on. Right. I hear, I want to do juniors. I want to do young riders. I want to do this. I want to, fine and good. But at the end, we need people that want to, and not everybody wants to. I get that. But we need people that want to start young horses, that want to be able to start a young horse and bring them all the way to Grand Prix. I get that some people are more like, I'm a young horse person. I'm a FEI person. That's a luxury most of us don't have. But I do think that, like, where's that want for the kids to want that too? They should want to be able to say, I can buy a foal because that's the only quality horse that I can afford, and develop it all the way along. Like, where's that drive to do that? I don't know. I hope it's not gone forever.
No, I mean, I totally agree that, it's part of the whole deal,
and
right?
I can't tell you how often breeders come to us, could you start our young horses? Like, I could probably employ 3 more people just with how many times a week I get asked, especially in the springtime. I have a 3-year-old that needs to get started. Could you do it? And nice horses. We're not talking about like horses that nobody would want to ride. Like, these are nice horses. And I'm like, I'm sorry, full, but so many people. And then we end up sending them to the eventers and like saying, oh, let the eventers start them because it's dangerous. I totally don't believe that starting young horses needs to be dangerous. It just needs to involve a lot of patience and a lot of like you said earlier, skill and a little bit of know-how and a little bit of like being able to read a young horse and know what might happen in certain situations, experience. But you're not going to get the experience if you don't start, right?
Right. That's exactly right. You don't get the experience. You've got to start. And it's so important to think of that. Like if somebody wants to become a trainer, right? Like you said,
Right.
it is a luxury to have an FEI horse. It is a luxury. And it takes
Right.
even trainers years for us to develop FEI horses.
Right.
And so
Right.
that's the difference, right? When you're a trainer, you have more horses and you're developing of all ages. But that's the critical thing. You need to be able to take that horse or whatever horse somebody calls you. Granted, it needs to be a safe horse, and develop it through the years. And you and I were talking off air. There's a lot, you get into a lot of trouble a lot of times. Like, that's what a trainer does. You just do it more times. It doesn't necessarily mean that anybody's better or worse. You just have had more repetitions, or you sit on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's where I was so lucky, is because like my mom had young horses out on the pasture, you know, and it's like, go try to teach that horse his first spine change. Go for it. Guessing you're probably not going to be able to do it as fast as somebody more experienced, or as well. Maybe you won't get it done at all, but try. Attempt. Learn different ways. Get different ideas. Like, make the mistakes so you can learn from those mistakes. You know, it's a totally different ball game. But I think that we need to set our young kids up to attempt to make those mistakes, you know?
That's right.
Don't shelter them so much.
And it's okay to make mistakes. It is okay to not train. And young horses, kind of like young kids.
And we're always like, it doesn't matter. It's a mistake. We can go on. Like, same thing with trainers. Like, yeah, we all make mistakes. If it was easy
not
and
perfect.
If it was perfect, right?
We are not
should probably
perfect.
be a Grand Prix by now, right?
And we make mistakes every day. Like,
Absolutely.
I am never
And I'm like,
perfect.
shit, why did I throw myself there again? That was totally my fault.
Yeah, like, oh.
Do it all the time.
And so that's the thing, is young horses are, as long as it's done safely. And I do believe that if it's your first couple, you do need to be under the guidance of an experienced person.
Absolutely.
That's important.
Absolutely. Yep.
That may not be
Totally
every
agree.
day, but you do need to be under that guidance. That's really
Absolutely.
important. So
Absolutely. And I do believe that, like, there are better ways to do it and worse ways to do it. And I think that when you develop your system, like, we have a pretty darn strict system of how we start our young horses, and they all know how to do X, Y, and Z before we even think about sitting on them, you know. And then we always have the handler on the ground, and that's almost a more important part than the jockey that sits on there the first time, you know. But you got to develop a system, and you got to have an idea of where you're going with which things. And I totally think that, like, there are not enough people in this country that can start a horse well and then be able to also not only start it well that you can back it and somebody can sit on it and it's not dangerous, sort of thing, but start it in a way that already exposes it to correct dressage, you know. Start it in a way that's forward. Start it in a way that's accepting the contact in the correct way. Start it in a way that it has an idea of bending by the time it goes under saddle for a month, you know. Like, start it in a way that it's logical for it to then become a young horse candidate, you know, not just starting it hoping that you're going to stay on, you know. Start it with a system. And I think people need to learn the systems to start it. There's not just one, just like in anything, there's not just one way to do anything. But I think that there are correct ways and better ways that set that horse up to then be a good 4-year-old, a good 5-year-old, a good 6-year-old, and eventually a good FEI horse, you know?
Absolutely. Well, Emily, this is such a great conversation. Thank you so much for our trainer tip of the week and just more conversation about training young horses. That's why we've done this young horse series on the Dressage Radio Show, because we feel like it's really important and we've kind of neglected that. So thank you so much, Emily, for your time. And how can our listeners contact you online if they have any questions?
My email is good, wallywoofarm@gmail.com. That's WALLYWOOFARM
Fantastic. Thank you, Emily.
Okay, bye.
As always, we love email and Facebook shout outs. Keep them coming. We really, really enjoy them. And
yeah,
we
I
enjoy
think we've got a couple of emails in the
queue
inbox, so we're going to be covering those in the next couple of weeks when we can. But keep them coming. I mean, they just kind of stay there, and we might not get to them right when you send them, but A couple of these questions require us to do a little bit of research, but we really tried to get to them, and so keep sending them in. And maybe one of these days we've got to get to doing a listener question show again.
Absolutely.
I think we'll get to that next month. So keep the Facebook shout outs coming. We love hearing from you, and I'm feeling like people are actually listening to us. So
we love that. Well, as always, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter @Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
The best way to find me is on Facebook, or my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors for allowing us to put on a good show. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we will talk to you in a couple weeks.